What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I'm experimenting with a new mic setup, so if things sound weird, that's what it is. I was thinking about romance again, because a number of times over this last year, I've encountered this confusing thing in which women will actively waste your time. And I don't mean going out and chasing someone and then they give you the runaround. That's a consequence of going out and pursuing. You give people the rope they will hang you with. Instead, this last year, a few instances of this, women will go to you and then try to play the runaround game. And I'm not entirely sure what the goal is. I'm assuming it's some kind of a control thing, but it made me think more about what relationships are, or are supposed to be. And it's really weird having the microphone in my face. You wouldn't expect it to have this much of an impact on you, but I'm having a hard time focusing. I feel like I'm at the dentist. Anyway, I was thinking about my past relationships that worked really well. And I was watching a video by a divorce lawyer who has really good brief advice. And one of the things he was talking about was the way in which women who want to be with you, who are seriously into you, will, his phrasing was, will crawl through barbed wire to be with you. Will make things super easy for you. Will take on most of that effort. And once you've been in a relationship with a woman who likes you like that, you won't want anything else, and you shouldn't. And I agree, and that's what I was thinking about, or have been thinking about the last few days. Because I don't think relationships are what we're told they are, what we're programmed to believe they are. Because on this genetic level, when you experience a relationship or a dynamic like what the divorce lawyer described, that feels a lot more natural. Because even in a dynamic like that, it's not like the dude is doing nothing. There is a reason a woman is that attracted to whatever dude she's into, or a dude she would crawl through barbed wire to be with. And then there's the dude's side after she's crawled through barbed wire. A dynamic like that feels like that's what you're supposed to be doing, because it's not something you think about. And also, once you're in a dynamic like this, you do for each other shit I think you should be doing for one another, not this fucking game garbage. It doesn't feel like two forces colliding or circling or whatever, which is what a lot of relationships feel like, what a lot of this shit feels like. Circling and circling and circling, or crashing and time wasting. Instead, you start gaining momentum together and you feel like you're focusing in on what you're supposed to be doing in life. I know the title of the video is Timewaster Romance, but let's key into this dynamic, how this works, or what it is even. Another way to think about relationships. To begin, as a dude, you focus on whatever your divine soul mission is. And I think most people have an idea of what they're alive to do. The issue, once you've identified what you're here to do, which might take some time, is building up the nerve to do your mission, to play the role you were born to play. For me, because of the environment I grew up in, because of a lot of things. There is this, and I think this is the case for a lot of dudes because there is an element of this, or there's supposed to be an element of this in all dudes, but we'll get to that. You express it in a different way. Is this warrior thing, feeling impotent or small or weak if you don't know how to wield force, whether that's physical or mimetic or social or something. And I think dudes are weird about this for a bunch of social reasons, but also on a more basic level. If you aren't a force exerter, then very easily you could be, or probably are daily, all of us, even if you are a force exerter, a force exerted or a force exertee, which is a reasonable concern. That is something you should be concerned about. But when it comes to purpose and life mission and selfhood, especially these days, odds are good warrior is not the role you are born to play. And that's not the only role that's a common one. That's mine. I worry about that a lot. But it seems like whoever you are, the more aware of the role you're supposed to play, the more you get obsessed with a different role. So it could be anything. But the first part of this is building up the nerve to be on a board the chess piece for the divine you're supposed to be. Figure out what role you're supposed to play. Start playing it even if you have reservations, even if you'll have concerns the rest of your life. You know what you need to be doing, and you start doing it. And you'll know you're on the right track because you can feel when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, via righteousness. Haven't used that word in a while. And this is another anxiety-inducing sometimes thing, in that when you are on your divine mission, rarely will you know where you're supposed to be going or what specifically you're supposed to be doing. The ultimate purpose of it will probably never know. But that can double as a benefit because you don't need to concern yourself with that stuff. You do what you're supposed to be doing, and you know when you're doing it because you can feel it. And the things that are supposed to happen to you, which include bad or even traumatic things, they'll start happening. And as a dude, I think romance is part of that, as long as you trust the process. Because what'll happen is, at some point, probably when it's supposed to happen, you will attract the sort of woman you need to attract. Which, this is another thing about missions. You don't need a flashy mission, or you don't need to be the sort of person you think is attractive. That's one of the nice things about men and women being different. You don't need to think too much or too hard about what she needs to do or what's going on her end, because as long as you are fulfilling your end of the bargain naturally, she'll be fulfilling her end of the bargain naturally too, even if it doesn't make sense to either of you back and forth, because you're different machines. You can think who you are is shit, you can think what you're supposed to be doing is shit, and you can continue thinking that the entire time you're doing it, as long as you're doing it, because someone, cosmically, spiritually, will be drawn to whatever goal, to whatever goal you are accomplishing. It's weird. I've had 3 major life relationships. Only one functioned in the way I'm describing, but I'm a believer in it because at that time, by my standards, there was no reason for me, by my metrics, to attract the caliber of woman I did. And I'm assuming that happened because I was locked on what I needed to be doing at that time. So you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and then someone sniffs you out and then comes at you. And to keep the relationship videos interlinked a bit, we talked a while ago about this gardening idea. What we're describing here is flow state gardening. You're not gardening to attract someone, you're gardening for a purpose, for a cause, and then you get the byproducts of gardening. Because while I think relationships are an end goal for us as humans, on the cosmic scale, they are a small function of whatever these driving forces behind us are. Ergo, by devoting yourself to your divine mission, forwarding whatever purpose these background purposes are purposing, you end up with beneficial relationships as a result. Not as a reward, but so this purpose can be forwarded harder. Because what you'll notice about shitty relationships or shitty relationships that come out of your as a dude going out and pursuing or focusing all your attention on getting into a relationship, the sort of woman you'll end up with is you're circling a drain with her. And I'm assuming this is the same for women. When you're focusing hard on finding a relationship, doing this and that to get into the relationship you desire, you end up with dudes you are circling the drain with. People who waste your time, drain your soul. Whereas when you get into one of these barbed wire relationships, things start going better. As a dude, the women who drag themselves through barbed wire for you are women who will not waste your time at all. They'll hit the ground running, helping you. That's another thing. Beware. This is why the Timewaster Romance thing, women who show up and then do the runaround thing, confused me. Beware women who show up in front of you and then provide you only with words. Positive words sound good, but they don't do anything. What they do is they lure you into this drain circling. Barbed wire women, it's like getting rezzed in Shadow of War with the Nemesis system and the orcs. They show up and immediately start throwing hands with whatever problem you're dealing with. And there is almost none of this proving yourself to her shit, this auditioning shit. Because you're proving yourself, your auditioning was your dedication to your mission. And in my experience, if you start having problems, it's because you fell off the doing what you're supposed to be doing train. And when you get back on it, things smooth over. It's not a lot of your displaying to her. You'll notice it's more her displaying to you. And not in a trying to get your approval way, but more an I'm capable and allied way. And this is another thing I thought about, because as a dude, it's tricky. You'll see camps of people who believe women, or they'll say things like this is a partnership, but you'll know the dynamic they have in mind is fucked up because it makes you miserable and keeps you from accomplishing the things you need to accomplish. Then you have other camps of people who act like it's not a partnership, because that's the tricky thing. It is a partnership, but it's not, it doesn't operate the way people like to believe it operates. This is equity, not equality. As a dude, women do have some role in guiding you. But that's tricky because that instinct or that awareness is exactly what shitty, time-wasty women will use to lead you off the path. You'll know you're dealing with a higher quality woman when her guiding is not to get you to do what she wants you to do. Instead, it's when she is guiding you to do what you want to do, or should be doing, divinely, but you aren't for some reason. Because the purpose of the relationship, if we're thinking about it in this cosmic sense, is to accomplish some goal better. As the dude, that goal falls on your shoulders. And this is life or death shit, even if it doesn't appear to be. I took a piss and thought about how to phrase this. It's your goal together in an quantum entanglement sense. But the role the dude plays is he's the one on the hook for whether or not the goal gets accomplished. Whereas the woman serves as the auxiliary. And that word can get twisted up because sorts of people will assume, they'll hear auxiliary and they'll assume that means passive or lesser, and that's not the case. Some women's job or part is to be the active one, which for someone like me, that's always made me a little insecure because of the way pride works for me, combined with the fact, historically speaking, I perform a lot better in my life with active women when the wrong, or investing in the wrong active woman, becomes a huge headache quickly. And I think there are two ways to look at this, both from video games. On one side, you have the John or Master Chief and Cortana version, in which the woman is the more passive one. And then on the other side, you have Mikola and Melania from Elden Ring. Melania is the blade in that relationship. And in that case, you could say relationship is the wrong word because they're siblings. However, this dynamic I'm describing, I don't think it even necessarily needs to be romantic. Or even man and woman specifically. This is more of a gender thing. Masculine and feminine. The masculine is the one who is on the hook for the goal. The feminine is the one who adopts the goal. And I reiterate, I think upholding purpose is the thing behind really good relationships. When you have that and stick to it, the rest will follow. As long as you know what your track is and refuse to be thrown off it, you'll end up with a partner who will help you stay on your track. Because that is what you're both alive for. The consequence is you, as humans on a human level, get to enjoy your connection. But then we're going backward a bit. We kind of went forward in the abstract. Let's get back to the literal, rewind a little bit. What do you, as a dude, do, purposeful dude, do once a woman has crawled through barbed wire to get to you and has made it clear she is your ally? I don't think it's actually that hard. You don't make her feel stupid for choosing you by doing dumb shit or by disregarding your purpose. You don't take advantage of her. You give her what she needs, and I think that will come as naturally to you as crawling through barbed wire came to her. And this stuff isn't super specific because every relationship that's built on a foundation of purpose will look different because every purpose is different and every route outlined to achieve it is different. But you look at women's bad relationships and the tragic ones, not the drain circling ones, the ones in which a woman crawled through barbed wire to get to a dude who is shit. There are a lot of reasons that happens, but I think very purposeful or craving of purpose women end up in situations like these. And they last, they get drawn out so long. Because part of their role in getting with the men they're supposed to be with is smoothing over the bumps. But a parasite dude will read into what this woman is: purposeful, giving, supportive, wanting to do anything in her power to see this goal achieved, or a goal she believes she sees achieved. And the parasite dude will proceed to take advantage essentially indefinitely. He'll hijack her bumps smoothing instincts and turn those into excuse making instincts. And there is a difference between those two things. And it's tragic because women will blame themselves for it as if it's a shortcoming on their part. So instead of removing the parasite, they'll double down on being supportive, and then they get locked down, and it's gruesome. Your job as a dude, aside from staying on course, is not to take advantage of that. I think if you're in sync, you'll know how much of herself she's supposed to give you, and vice versa, but it's different. Your job is to accept only what you need. It's like yeast. You use only as much yeast as you need to, and you continue feeding the source, because if you used all the yeast all at once, you're done. There's no more yeast. And that's another thing. I say accept intentionally, because it's easy to say not to take. But another thing, as a dude, there is, at least in some dudes, there is a refusal to accept when given. That's another thing to avoid. Giving is part of her job. Accepting is part of your job. And what you give is of what you win by or in accomplishing your goal, the goal. This is hard to explain, but as a dude, or as the masculine, what you're providing is carving out where she wants to be or what she wants to be. But again, as the dude, or as the masculine, that is not the focus of what you're doing. Your focus is staying on track, staying aimed at your goal and doing what you need to do. And that's brutal. But that's your part in this. And you'll know you're doing it right because, contrary to the way lots of people talk about purpose and meaning and all this shit, it doesn't feel very good. That pain is your side of the equation. You give her a boat, she makes it worth sailing on. And again, I don't think what you need to do, man or woman, is that complicated. Your instincts will do that for you. The difficult part is keeping up the nerve to stay on what you need to be doing, to stay listening to your instincts. That is such a difficult thing in life to do, listening to your instincts. How many times do you need to learn that lesson? And all this to say, allocate your stress and worry and concern and effort to where you need it, which is staying locked on your purpose. Divinely, you will get what you're supposed to get if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. The pain comes from the fact that part is outside your hands, and everything in existence is trying to get you away from what you're supposed to be doing. What you don't want is Timewaster Romance. If you're a dude and you're dealing with a woman who does nothing but lead you on wild goose chases, or tries to take the wheel out of your hands, tries to make herself the focus of both your lives, get out of there. The right woman will deliver herself to you with a lot of the shit you need to do whatever it is you are on this planet to do. If you're a woman, Stay away from a man who does nothing but take. Because that's the other thing. As much as popular conversation talks about the way women take shit from dudes, and they do, to be fair, what they're the painful thing they're taking from you, women take from dudes, is their time, their attention, their focus, their peace of mind. It sucks to have shit taken from you, or for you to give away shit and it be unappreciated, whatever. But that all is whatever. It's your going off track. That's the painful thing. Whereas with women with shitty dudes, it seems, at least from the outside, I'm not a woman, the material extraction is way higher. Shitty men are really good at bleeding good women dry of everything they have. A shitty woman guns for your time, your focus. A shitty man guns for your resources. As a man, you're looking for a woman who makes your cosmic job easier. As a woman, you're looking for a dude who makes you feel like what you have to give is going towards something cosmically worthwhile. And you'll know you're in it because you feel better and you're doing better. Lots of actions and positive consequences, good results. And I think this happens naturally when you are staying on course. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.